Welcome to another lesson of basic tactical themes. In this chapter, we'll have a look at a very basic and very important and actually very common tactical theme called a pin. It is so common and so powerful that it has a saying going for it that says pin and win. So if you learn to create pins in your game, you'll win many games. So we'll start looking at the position and see how the theme works. We see the black king and queen lined up in a diagonal, and then I notice I have a piece, the bishop, which also moves diagonally, and that gives me an idea to create an attack on the queen and the king along the diagonal. Let us see what happens if I move the bishop here. Now if you notice, the bishop, the white bishop, the black queen and the black king are in the same diagonal, and the queen cannot move from its position without exposing the black king to a check. In this position, the black queen is said to be pinned. This is also known as absolute pin because moving the queen would be against the rules of chess. So we see that using this strong tactical theme called pin, white forces black to give up his queen. Now, the only options for the black queen would be maybe to go here, and still white can capture it and thereby winning a piece worth 9 points for a piece worth only 3. If black chooses to capture the bishop, we can simply capture it back. So we see how we created a pin. We used the tactical theme of a pin to get a big advantage and force black to give up his queen. We'll see some more examples using a bishop and a rook. So the queen, the rook and the bishop are the 3 chess pieces which can create pins. We'll see 2 more examples. In this example, we see a rook creating a pin. I see the basic features of the position, which is the black king and the knight lying in a straight line, and that gives me an idea to use my rook to attack that. Let us see what happens if I put the rook here. Now the rook is attacking the knight, and we notice the inability of the knight to move away because that would expose the black king to a check, and we have created an absolute pin. Let us see how to use that to get an advantage. With black to play, the best move for black would be to support the knight like this, and now I can't capture the knight because it's supported, but what I can do is attack it with a piece which is even lesser in points than the knight, which is the pawn, which is worth only 1 point, and I exploit the inability of the knight to move because of the absolute pin. And whatever black does, maybe it gets out of the pin like this, and I get an opportunity to capture the knight and get an material advantage. So we saw how using an absolute pin we were able to get some material advantage. And here we see an opportunity for the white queen to create a pin on the black rook on d5. We notice that the king and the rook are in a diagonal, and we also know the ability of the queen to move either along a straight line or along a diagonal. So think about it, what we can do. The idea involves placing the queen on the same diagonal as the king and the rook. And maybe you got it now, and it is like this. Now we place the queen along the same diagonal, and we have created a pin on the black rook. And using its inability to move and absence of any of the black pieces to support it will give us a sure advantage, because whatever black does, maybe he moves here and we simply capture the rook. We again saw how using an absolute pin we can get material advantage. In this example, we'll see how a pin can afford us a great advantage. We notice the position and we see black has a big material advantage. Is two rooks and the queen, while white has only the rook and the bishop. But there's a very important feature to the position, that the bishop and king are in the same diagonal, and as such the pawn on g7 is pinned. It is not able to move because again that would expose the king to a check, and we have a rook here which can go ahead and capture this pawn, and white declares a checkmate. See how amazing it is. Even with lesser amount of material, what if we learn to use the right tactical themes, in this case the pin, we can win many games. Here the black pawn cannot recapture the rook, because as we know it is pinned, and the black king itself cannot move anywhere because its exit is blocked by his own rook, and as such white wins the game using a pinned piece. This is how we exploit pinned pieces. It's a very important example. This tells us that we have to notice these specific features of the position, which are the tactical themes like pin, and we have to keep our eyes open in trying to exploit them. Thank you.